If you find French reflexive verbs confusing, this video is all you need to grasp this topic perfectly. Listen to this quick text and let me know if you understand every single thing I said. Chaque matin, Marie se réveille et se lève à 7 heures. Elle se brosse les dents, puis se lave le visage. Après, elle s'habille et se regarde dans le miroir. Elle se sent prête pour la journée. Avant de partir, elle se prépare un petit déjeuner rapide. Did you hear all I said? Don't worry, let's get started with today's lesson. Bonjour à tous, welcome back to our channel where we make learning French fun and easy. I'm Smolwa, your favorite French teacher, and today we're going to dive into the amazing world of French reflexive verb, but in the present tense. These verbs are essential for everyday conversation, so let's get started. You're probably thinking, okay, Sumo, so you give us a text in the beginning. Can you tell me what it means? Do not worry. In today's lesson, we're going to go through that text so that you can pick out the reflexive verbs that I teach you. But before we get started, I have a free ebook for you. In my free ebook, we cover everything we're going to talk about today and so much more. This ebook is packed with examples, more exercises, and tips to help you master the French reflexive verbs in the present tense. All you need to do is input your name and email address in the link in the description box below, and today's fantastic lesson will be sent directly to your inbox. Reflexive verbs or verb pronominaux are verbs where the subject performs the action on itself. These verbs use reflexive pronouns that correspond to the subject performing the action. Understanding and using reflexive verbs correctly is crucial for speaking and writing French accurately, especially when describing daily routines and personal actions. For example, in French, if I want to say I wash the car, I would say je lave la voiture. Je lave la voiture. But if I want to say I wash myself, I would say je me lave. Je me lave, because what, I'm the subject and I'm performing an action on myself. And so in the French language, here are the reflexive pronouns we use. Je me, tu te, il ou elle ou on se, nous, vous, il ou elle se. Please take note this is in the present tense. Now, to conjugate the reflexive verbs, we place the reflexive pronoun before the verb and conjugate the verb in the present tense according to the subject. So today we're going to look at some examples from different verb groups. I'm going to show you examples in the ER verbs, in the IR verbs, and in the third group so that you understand how to conjugate some of these verbs with the reflexive verbs. For ER verbs, the first we can take a look at is se laver. Se laver. And this means what? To wash oneself. Se laver. Now, the first thing we need to do is identify the reflexive pronoun. And then we conjugate the main verb according to the subject pronoun. So for regular ER verbs, you still conjugate laver in the same way you conjugate the ER verb, okay? So for instance, how do we conjugate laver? Let's conjugate that in the present tense first of all, so that it's easier for you to understand when to put the reflexive verb with it. And so the conjugation of laver, to wash, in the present tense is je lave, tu laves, il ou elle lave, nous lavons, vous lavez, il ou elle lave. Okay? Now let us add the reflexive verb to this verb. So what does it become? Je me lave. Simple. Do you see? Tu te laves. Il ou elle ou on se lave. Nous lavons. Vous lavez. Il ou elle se lave. So do you see how easy that is? Once you have the ER verb, you already know how to conjugate the ER verb. All you just need to do is to attach the reflexive pronoun. That is all you need to do. Once you attach the reflexive pronoun to the ER verb, it becomes easy. So no matter what ER verb you're thinking of, what you need to do is understand the reflexive verb, understand the reflexive pronoun, and just attach it to form a beautiful sentence like we just had, je me lave. So for instance, I could say, je me lave les mains avant de manger. So do you see that I'm the subject performing the action on myself? I wash my hands. I'm not washing my daughter's hands or my sister's hands. I am washing my hands, which is why it is je me lave les mains avant de manger. Je me lave les mains, my hands. Another example can be il se lave le visage tous les matins. they wash their faces each morning. So do you see, they, the subjects, are performing the action on themselves. They are washing their faces every morning. They aren't washing the dog's faces or the cat's faces or any other person. They are washing their faces, which is why it is what? A reflexive verb. The subject is performing the action on itself. Let's take a look at another ER verb so that you can also see how to use this. Se lever. Se lever. And this means what? To get up. Let us conjugate it together with the reflexive verb. You remember how we conjugated se laver? It's the exact same way. So this would be je me lève, tu te lèves, il ou elle ou on se lève, nous nous levons, vous vous levez, il ou elle se lève. And so, for example, I could say, elle se lève à 6 heures tous les jours. Or, nous nous levons tôt pour aller courir. So do you see? You can equally use any of the reflexive verbs. You just have to be sure of the reflexive pronoun. And once you attach it, you have the perfect sentence. Let's look at one more ER verb. We have se coucher. Se coucher. And this means to go to bed. Let's conjugate it. Je me couche. Tu te couches. Il ou elle ou on se couche. Nous nous couchons. Vous vous couchez. Il ou elle se couche. And so a sample sentence could be il se couche toujours avant minuit. Or I could say vous vous couchez tôt le week-end. So is it easier? Do you now know how to just conjugate any ER verb with the reflexive verbs? I'm sure you do. Let's take a look at IR verbs now. Je me nourris. Tu te nourris. Il ou elle on se nourrit. Nous nous nourrissons. Vous vous nourrissez. Il, elle se nourrissent. And so I could say, nous nous nourrissons bien pendant les vacances. Okay, so there is an example with the IR verb. Now let's take a look at the third group verbs, okay? We have se sentir. Se sentir, and this means to feel. So to conjugate, we would say, je me sens, tu te sens, il ou elle, on se sent, nous nous sentons, vous vous sentez, il ou elle se sentent. And so I could say, je me sens fatigué après une longue journée. Yeah. Or, vous vous sentez mieux aujourd'hui? Another third group verb could be se battre. Se battre. And this means what? To fight. Let's conjugate it. Je me bats. Tu te bats. Il ou elle, on se bat. Nous nous battons. Vous vous battez. Il ou elle se battent. And so a sample sentence could be, les enfants se battent pour les jouets. I could also say, nous nous battons pour nos trois. Okay, so we've taken a look at ER, IR, and third group verbs. I'm just going to give you additional reflexive verbs that you might come across in text or you might even hear someone say. Number one, se peigner. Se peigner. Ils se peignent les cheveux chaque matin. Number two, se dépêcher. Se dépêcher. Nous nous dépêchons de prendre le bus. Number three, se reposer. Se reposer. Il se repose après une longue journée de marche. Number four, se préparer. Se préparer. Je me prépare pour l'examen de demain. Number five, se promener. Se promener. Nous nous promenons dans le parc tous les dimanches. The next one, s'amuser. S'amuser. Nous nous amusons toujours lorsque nous sortons ensemble. The next one, se souvenir. Se souvenir. Je me souviens de notre voyage à Paris. And so, there you have it. By following this structured approach, you can correctly form reflexive verbs in the present tense, ensuring clarity and accuracy in your communication. And now, it's time for our quiz. Do you remember what I read for you in the beginning? Now, for the quiz, I'm going to read it out to you again. I'm going to show you the text, and what I need you to do is bring out a pen and paper and pick out the reflexive verbs that you hear me say. Let me know in the comment section if you're able to pick out each and every reflexive verb that I read in the text. Vous êtes prêts? Let's get started. Chaque matin, Marie se réveille et se lève à 7 heures. Elle se brosse les dents, puis se lave le visage. Après, elle s'habille et se regarde dans le miroir. Elle se sent prête pour la journée. Avant de partir, elle se prépare un petit déjeuner rapide. Great work! Were you able to pick out each and every single reflexive verb in that story? Do not worry if you didn't get everything. It's fine. All you just need to do is continue practicing. And so here is the meaning of each reflexive verb used in the story. As you can see, we picked out 8 different reflexive verbs in this story. At least now that you've seen them, you're able to form sentences the next time you come across any of these reflexive verbs. And so what I need you to do in your free time is to try and form sentences with the reflexive verbs you just learned. Do not forget, I created the perfect ebook for you. All you need to do is input your name and email address in the link in the description box below, and today's lesson alongside more examples, more exercises, and tips to help you master the French reflexive verbs in the present tense. This ebook is a great resource to reinforce what we've covered today and to help you build your French language skills. And so, what are the key points to take away from today's lesson? Reflexive verbs indicate action performed on oneself. They require a reflexive pronoun that matches the subject. The structure involves a reflexive pronoun followed by the verb conjugated in the present tense. So do you see why I said this is the only video you're ever going to need to understand the French reflexive verbs in the present tense? So you might wonder, okay, Sumo, what if I want to learn the French reflexive verbs in the passé composé? Do not worry, I got you. All you need to do is click the link above to watch the French reflexive verbs in le passé composé and ensure you mastered them as well. Thank you so much for watching today's lesson. If you found today's video helpful, please do not forget to thumbs up so that I'm sure that you like such lessons. Share with anyone else who is struggling with French reflexive verbs, and subscribe so you get notified on more lessons like this. Until I see you in the next lesson where I teach you more about the French reflexive verbs in le passé composé. Bonne journée!